Hi, I'm Ketki,
And I'm Sanaya.
and we're Thinking People. This episode is part of an ongoing series we're introducing called Living in which we explore how life is changing across India's cities. Today, we're thinking about what it means to live and work in Mumbai.
Life moves fast. Tune in to think about it.
Okay, hello. Hi, welcome. Welcome to Thinking People in 2026.
Yes. Oh, yes.
This is-
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I feel like I've lived 5 months in the past 5 weeks.
I don't know what it is about January that always makes it feel so long. Like I agree. It does feel like it's been
It's
5
the
years.
longest month somehow. Even though there
Yeah.
are like 5 other months or whatever
Yeah.
with 31 days, it is the longest 31 days.
Yeah. But this year we're going to complete 3 years of Thinking People.
Yes, in
How
March.
are you feeling? How are you feeling about it?
It's good to know that we can commit to something and be consistent. And
Yeah.
even though we've been told by, well wishers and friends that you should be more regular and more
Yeah.
frequent, I still
Yeah.
think that the commitment and the consistency and never stopping, I feel happy and, looking forward to a new year of
Yeah.
never stopping.
This is your new motto for 2026. Never stopping.
It's
Until
an
death.
SNL. I think it's an Andy Samberg SNL thing. Like, like I feel like they made like some sort of like parody documentary about like a pop group. So it's called Pop Star Never Stop, Never
Oh,
Stopping.
wow. Wow.
I don't take credit for this.
Yeah, well, thank you SNL writers for
Yeah.
the first laugh of this podcast episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, you have questions for me mostly
Yes.
in this episode, like, and you can introduce the episode if you want to, but I actually, you know what, you introduce the episode and then I will ask you my question.
Okay.
First.
Yes. So in this episode, between the two of us, Ketki is the Mumbai resident. I am a Pune hometowner who is living in Delhi currently. So I have experienced Mumbai from the outside.
Yeah.
So in this Living In episode, I will be playing interviewer to Ketki, whom I
Yeah.
will interrogate about her life in Bombay. And yeah, there's lots I want to know from my Pune perspective and now my Delhi resident perspective. I've actually shared an entire list of questions with Ketki that I've asked her to think about. But I want to ask her out of syllabus question before we
Okay.
start.
Okay, before the question I'm supposed to ask you, sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm pulling the trigger before you.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so in the song In My City by Priyanka Chopra,
Oh my God.
is the city she's referring to Mumbai?
I think like it's a fictional city because the thing is it's like okay, I don't remember the song. Firstly, it's been years since I listened to that. But
In My City, Priyanka Chopra featuring Will I Am.
Oh, and what's the one with? She did one with Pitbull also. This is not the one with Pitbull.
I don't know what that is.
There's a song with Priyanka Chopra and Pitbull also, right?
She is a woman of many talents.
There's definitely a song with Pitbull for sure, where Pitbull is like Priyanka in his like typical like Pitbull in his voice. Is the city she's referring to Bombay? Maybe because I mean she's not technically from here.
Yeah.
She's actually from like somewhere in the hills in North India. But maybe she's referring. I have to go back and listen to the song.
Okay, so I'm going to
Yes.
read out the lyrics, okay? And you
Oh my
tell me if
God.
this is an accurate representation of your city. I know you got your own town. I know you got your own ways. I know you got your own life. I'm just saying, come down to my place. Come on and make some new friends and tell me what you drinking. I know there's no place like home, but I know you're going to like it in my city. I feel like this is when I'm
There's
reading.
something
There's something Bombay about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like everyone's kind of welcome here. You know, like if people come from like all kinds of backgrounds and hometowns, and it's like, but once they're in Mumbai, they're a Mumbaikar. You know,
Okay. So
it's like being an. I mean, people draw parallels to being like a New Yorker, where it's like it doesn't really matter where you're from, but like when you live in the city, you're
Yeah.
from the city.
okay, this was a trick question because my real question was, is Mumbai your city?
Oh my God. You're not letting me ask my question. Okay, I will answer this question, then I will ask you the question.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, before I answered this question, I do want to say for our listeners that like the last Living In episode that we recorded was about living in Delhi. And at the time, both of us were living in Delhi. And it's as of 7 months ago, in June 2025, I moved back to Bombay. So yeah, I've been here now, which is also why this episode recording is happening. And, you know, since I moved back, I've thought a lot about this question that you just asked me, where it's just like, is this my city? And it's always been really hard for me to answer this question generally, like, because it's like, oh, where are you? Like the question of like, where are you from? Or like, what's your like hometown?
Yeah.
Because I've never really felt like I had one, because I have grown up all over the place, all of many cities, many different countries. But I do feel now that Bombay is my city. And the reason I feel that way is because I think this time around, I really felt like I was called back to it, almost, where it was kind of, and at some point in this episode, I'll get into like why I left Bombay for a bit and came to Delhi. But I felt like I was called back to it in a way where the city was almost telling me like, okay, bahut ho gaya hai. You have escaped me, but the time has come for you to just
This is where
face
you
it.
belong.
This is where you belong.
Yeah.
Work-wise, in terms of like your temperament and who you are, and like where you just feel most at ease and at peace with yourself. So yeah, I will say yes. And it's also now, I think, probably the city where I've lived the longest. I think before Bombay, it used to be Singapore. Actually, Singapore is still technically the longest. It was 11 years. I came to Bombay in 2013. But I've been in and out quite a bit. So I'm coming into close, like a decade of like full-time living here. But it does feel longer because I never lost the connection to the city. My parents were always here. I always had a lot of friends here. So I always felt like it was a second home if it wasn't my primary home at that time. So yeah, this is my city now. In my city, I feel like
Yeah.
if we could get rights to that song, we should probably.
Now this is the cue.
This is the cue, sort of.
Imagine the song playing right now.
Imagine the song playing.
We did not get rights to the song, so you'll just have to keep imagining it.
Oh man. But the question that I wanted to ask you, and I feel like, I mean, I know you have a lot of questions for me, but it's 31st January. You were in Bombay. Like we met exactly 1 week ago on Saturday
Yep.
for Lollapalooza weekend. And you spent like 3 days here.
Yeah.
Experiencing, I would say, like a version of a Bombay life. But I just wanted to know, like, if you had any reflections, because you were also coming to Bombay. I mean, to spend so much, like, not a lot of time, but still, like 3 days in a row after a while, I would say.
Yeah.
Because you have come in the past, but you've just sort of either been in like Thane, or you've like sort of come for like a day at max or something.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about it. And it's also interesting because when you grow up in Pune, Bombay is almost always the destination that people want to go to if they're thinking of leaving Pune, right?
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to move to Bombay all my life. I thought that's where I'm going. I thought I was going to study there. I didn't end up studying there. I stayed back in Pune for that. And then I thought I was going to work there, and I didn't end up working there. I ended up in Delhi, and I've been here for 6 years. So, and then Bombay and Delhi have whatever Cold War situation or like open war situation happening, right? The Delhi versus Mumbai discourse.
I will say, if I can, for the record, that I think Bombay people hate Delhi more than Delhi hates Bombay, for sure. Now that I've lived in both cities, I can say this with certainty.
Yeah, it is interesting because especially this visit, even, I mean, I think Pune people are similar. There's almost like this like repulsion towards what Delhi stands for, and they kind of talk about it like it's not a real place sometimes,
Yeah.
or it's like this hellscape, and they're shocked that I have willingly moved there. And so I think this time I was a little more alert or aware of these contrasts than before. So yeah, I was paying attention a bit more. And I also realized that I haven't spent that much time outside of Pune and Delhi in India. So I think this time I feel like I experienced what life was like in Bombay. I got a little bit of a snapshot, because you're right, you're transiting through, visiting Thane, or if you're coming for like someone's wedding, you're not really exploring the city. I do think that Bombay in January is like Delhi in November or Feb. Like it's the best weather, right?
So good.
And it makes you think that that's what it's going to be like the entire time. But I know that's not true. I know that's not true. So yeah, to answer your question, it's going to be colored by these two dimensions. One is currently living in Delhi, and also someone who's from Pune. So I think Bombay was very familiar to me. I think it's the kind of interactions with people that I grew up with, and the kinds of conversations that I grew up with. And it's the way I would describe Pune to people was that it's like Bombay but smaller. So Bombay's always felt bigger in every way. So like it's like, you know, if you were in school or college and you had a band in Pune, Bombay is the place where you have a band and you're able to get some kind of a contract, and or you're able to like get into the film industry and I don't know, like work professionally as a musician. But in Pune, you're like this aspiring band trying to make it into the scene. So I do think like Pune has a more like ragtag approach. I even see it. I have like hometowners pride in like NH7, and if you look at what NH7 was, and then you look at what Lollapalooza is, and you're like, okay, Bombay is embracing this. But I have this tendency to be like, hey, but this wouldn't be possible without NH7. So yeah, you see it in many different ways, this bigger version of what you see in Pune. In terms of like coming in with a Delhi perspective, I feel like it really, you know that influencer Anuj Gupta, who does the Delhi versus Mumbai like reels.
Yeah,
So,
Anuj Gupta MP4. Yeah.
yeah, where he's like telling my friends I want to start making videos on Instagram, and his Bombay friends are like,
Oh, that's crazy, yes. Bro. I'm already going to start
mad
following
funny,
you.
bro.
I have a few influencer friends that ask them to follow. Bro, I know how to edit. I'll help you shoot and edit your videos.
Let's fucking go, bro.
and the Delhi people are like,
अबे लोमड़ी के शक्ल के किसी को ना
यार मैं तो मुंह खोलता है ना मेरे को
किस
गुस्सा
खुशी
लगा
में
भाई, ना तो कुछ खास दिखता है ना तू कुछ खास भाई, तेरी बात हम ना सुनते, इंटरनेट पे
तेरी
लोग
मम्मी
क्यों
को बताऊं
सुनेंगे?
मैं तो इंस्टाग्राम पे नचनिया बनना चाहता है।
मेरे को तेरे बाप के लिए अलग बुरा लगता है भाई।
I feel like that is so accurate. I do believe that contrast is very accurate. But I think one thing that I felt immediately was everything that I'd normalized living in Delhi, just around your physical safety, in terms of what you're wearing, how alert you need to be while moving through a city. So, it just occurred to me that I thought that I have a certain level of like vigilance, and I assumed it came from growing up, getting older. But it's actually living in Delhi for 6 years that's done it. Because I felt that kind of slip away in Bombay, and it was a very familiar feeling, because like Pune is by no means as safe as Bombay, but I grew up around that, like not having to think as much. Should I wear a jacket or not?
Yeah.
Do I need to like be hyper vigilant in a cab? Like keep looking at the map, just keep an eye out at all times.
Yeah.
So I definitely felt that. And I also felt that like there were so many situations in which there were like 500 triggers for what would have been a fight in Delhi. And it just didn't happen. So it does like it's good perspective to have.
Yeah.
Because really it's so easy to normalize all of this just to
Yeah.
exist and survive in Delhi.
Yeah.
So
Like
yeah,
it's almost as if like people can be a little bit more evolved in their everyday interactions instead of like just divulging into like a physical altercation or like a verbal altercation, even for that matter.
yeah.
In fact, very recently, as of like 2 days ago, I was traveling to work and I took a cab and I was on the ceiling, and I think my driver was a little sleepy that morning because I was getting in very, very early that day. And he sort of misses the ceiling barricade. So he just sort of like drives without really intending to like he wasn't like wanting to skip it or anything. But the what is this thing called that like
The
opens
windshield wiper.
no, not the windshield wiper, like when you're sort of crossing a toll, like this thing that opens, like the bridge
Oh,
thing.
right. Yeah, like the barricade that lifts up.
Yeah, I guess
right?
like a
Yeah.
barricade only. So the
Yeah.
barricade, so because he drives through it really fast without thinking twice, it sort of like falls onto the car. Like it just hits the car
Mm.
and then he stops. And the guy at the toll booth like runs up to him and I'm like, oh shit, this guy is gonna like, he's gonna
Yeah.
just absolutely like lay into him. And instead he says something to the effect of, Are bhaiya, subah aapne chai nahi pi kya? Like in like a very almost sweet way. And I was like, wow, that is like the fact that his first instinct was to assume that this is not something, the guy is not out here to like
Correct.
scam the toll and like kind of like not pay the toll and like go ahead,
Yeah.
speed ahead, but rather to just be like, oh, you made a mistake, that's what happened,
Yep.
is in my opinion the best thing about Bombay, which is that I think there is a general sense of trust that exists in the city that I don't think
Yeah.
exists in Delhi.
Absolutely not. I
Yeah.
keep saying that in Delhi, you're just waiting for someone to pull the wool over your eyes. You're just,
Yeah.
that's why you're so on edge all the time,
Yeah.
because you're like, who's going to take me for a ride? Who's going to try and scam me? Who's going to try and fleece me? Like, there's this consistent feeling that you need to be on your guard. And if you let it fall for whatever reason, someone's going to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I've always wondered why that is, and I like it evades me because I'm not able to figure out a why to that question. And for like this just general this kind of behavior that exists in Delhi, which is just that you just if you're not hyper vigilant, someone is going to kind of like
yeah.
fleece you in some way because it's happened to you so many times. Like it's your experience that.
Yes, if you have a false sense of security, someone somewhere somehow is going to sense it and they are going to take advantage of it. If you're too polite, they're going to sense weakness, and it's all real, right? And there was another thing I was thinking which maybe might connect to this phenomenon. So I was I feel like this is applicable to Pune as much as it is to Bombay, but Bombay more so because of the sheer number of people who have moved there over generations to like settle down, live, work, study. I've always felt like it's like people in Bombay don't have a background. And I mean it both like positively and negatively. And I initially was commenting on how, like which part of the country your family is from, like in terms of the state, in terms of your like native language, etc. I feel like there's a very like surface level engagement in Bombay and Pune with that side of a person, primarily by North Indians. That's usually the case, right? But it's like if someone is, let's say, from Karnataka, conversations don't go into, hey, what does it mean for you to be like a Kannadiga person? You know what I mean? It doesn't go into that. So there's like that typical.
The only time that happens if someone from Delhi. That's the only time.
But that matters so much in Delhi. That matters a lot in Delhi. And I think that it's a good thing in the sense that you're kind of coming with like almost like a clean slate, but it's also not a great thing because like people lack a genuine curiosity about who people are and where they come from. So I feel like it's a thing that cuts both ways, but I wonder that in Delhi, this is like an ever-present thing. Like you're walking into conversations with whatever your baggage is. But in Bombay, that's not the case.
Yeah. And you're contending with that baggage like all the time. I like it's sort of, it's like layers to it, right? Like there is obviously your background, like what state you're from, what your family background is, what your caste is, what your economic status is. Like all of those things are like in each sort of different kind of circle in Delhi, like it's something that you are sort of contending with and negotiating all the time for whatever reason.
Yep.
I honestly think that in the grand scheme of things, like Delhi is still a very new city. Like I still think it has a very evolved, like the culture, its culture hasn't really, at least like modern Delhi, like New Delhi is still new. Like Bombay has been Bombay in the way that it is Bombay today for a while. You know, Calcutta has been Calcutta in a way that it is Calcutta today for a while.
Yeah, like these are like colonial capitals.
Yeah,
right?
like my dad talks about like growing up in Delhi, and he like entire neighborhoods were erected in front of his eyes. Vasant Vihar, all of these things were like forests, you know, so they didn't really exist. And back in the 70s and early 80s even, like, you know, like it was just most people that lived in Delhi were like government employees and like I guess like some businessmen and stuff like that. And like so there's been this influx of like either like new age businessmen and then new age industries into Delhi and stuff like that. And they've tried to kind of like, I feel like the culture hasn't yet caught up. Like this feels the most true in like a place like Gurgaon, because New Delhi still has like its old architecture and there's other things that like sort of seep into it.
Yep.
But I don't know if there's a cohesiveness to the city in the way that Bombay has a cohesiveness, you know, like there's a lot of flaws in Bombay, but I think that the city in its culture is this like, I don't know, it's this living, breathing thing that it's kind of above you. It's you belong to it.
Yep.
That's how it is. You know, you come to Bombay and then you just become a part of that.
Yeah.
And you have to adjust your ways to become a part of that.
So on that, I just want to ask you, because I feel like you've had a journey with this city, right?
Yeah.
And you've lived there as a student, you've visited back because your family lives there, now you're working there. So could you just like, would you be able to like trace like a trajectory of your evolving relationship with the city?
Yeah.
Like, and I want you to start with like your first impressions.
I hated it when I first moved. And like for context, for those who don't know, I moved to Bombay after never having lived in India my entire life. I grew up primarily in Singapore. I was born in Delhi though. And the first place that I moved to in India after Singapore was Bombay. So it's obviously, and Singapore is like this hyper efficient, like tiny bubble of an island. Like, I mean, it's an island. And in that I was like a part of this very, very like small Indian diaspora bubble. In any case, I lived a very like sheltered life, and I didn't know what to expect. And like when I was moving, I really truly didn't know what to expect. I would only really ever visit Delhi. So I didn't even know what Bombay was about. And I remember like the first 3-4 months just trying to adapt to the chaos of it. Like I didn't know how to cross a street. I was like deathly afraid of like the stray dogs, which were everywhere, which is common to any Indian city. But more than anything, it was like the sheer number of like people around you all of the time. And my dad also was like, he had been wanting to move back to India for a really long time. And a big reason was that he wanted his kids to experience the Indian life. And he didn't want us to like become these like ABCDs, SBCDs, even though we weren't born there, but like essentially feel like we had roots here and feel like we had experienced the culture enough to associate with it. So when I first moved, he was like, you will take a local train. And I was like, okay. And so he was like, you're going to enroll into this, like when you enroll to college, like there's no driver, nothing, no one's going to drop you. You're going to take a local train. And that is how everyone commutes in Bombay, and you're also going to do it. And I remember like my first day of college, he actually came with me in the local train. And
I have a feeling a lot of people you studied with came in cars though.
Yeah. I also, but which is hilarious. But no, there's a lot of people that took the local train. Yeah. Those of us that weren't from South Bombay, which is another fucking phenomenon, which I will get into in a second. But I went to Jai Hind College, which is a very, very sober college, and a lot of the kids that went to my college are like very privileged, sober brats. Sorry if you're listening to this. I mean, you know who you are.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. It's okay to be self-aware about it, you know. So, so a lot of them came in like these fancy cars and stuff. But I don't know, my dad has always been this person where he's just like, you know, just because you have privilege doesn't mean that you should do the other things. You should be taking public transport, and I appreciate that a lot, actually. And also, more than anything, like, even though the local train in and of itself is its own beast, but sometimes it truly is the most convenient way to move through the city. Like, even to this day, like, I feel like I would rather take that sometimes than just be stuck in traffic for hours in a day. But in any case, going back, I digress. It was just very chaotic. I think I didn't know how to make sense of it. I think for the first like few months of college also, I just retreated into my own shell, because I was just like, I don't have too many friends in this place, and it just feels a little foreign to me, and it's too much. Like, I don't understand why like nothing is systematic. But I think with time, you sort of see that even despite the chaos, and a lot of it is like, chaos is sort of central to being and living in India, in any Indian city. It reaches another peak altogether in Bombay, and some of it is actually, most of it is a result of like just poor infrastructure, poorly managed like policies and things like that. But despite all of that, there is some kind of order to the chaos in Bombay. And a big part of like learning to get with the rhythms or understand the rhythms of the city is to learn to embrace that. Like, you sometimes, unfortunately, and this is where the whole spirit of Mumbai conversation comes in, you turn an absolute blind eye to the glaring problems, but it's a part of adjusting to and living in the city, which is also embracing the chaos. And there's like layers to that, right? Anyway, so that was like first sort of this thing, and then I made a bunch of friends, and I think started to feel a lot more integrated into the city. And I think like it was a time where I was I don't know, like I was like an 18, 19-year-old and stuff, and like very curious about who I was and the kind of things that I wanted to do. And I was really getting into photography at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try and just like sort of be out there and observe with my camera. And I feel like Bombay was the first city, even though I lived in Singapore all like most of my life. But I think that Bombay was the first city that I got to know like like physically, like in its neighborhoods. Like, I would go to different neighborhoods with my friends, and like everyone was in college. And even though like some of these people were born and raised in Bombay, they were like, no, let's do that cool thing that's happening in the other part of town, because like we should explore, you know. So there was this exploratory angle or approach to how we sort of lived life back then. But I think when I really started to get tired or exhausted with Bombay, because after undergrad, went abroad, met you, and then so I was away for some time.
Canon Life event,
Canon Life event, honestly, meeting Sanaya. But it was when I got back and I started working in Bombay where I was like, oh, okay. That's when it becomes like real. I mean, there was like a lot of things colliding at once, which was, not really feeling connected to my job, having to like commute long hours, having to sort of house hunt to move closer to work, paying a lot of crazy amounts of money in rent that was probably more than I could afford at the time. And it was just a bunch of things, and like all of that happening and coinciding with just becoming like a full-fledged adult for the first time, I think was very hard. And I didn't really realize it then, but it really, really took a toll on me those 3.5 years that I did my first job in Bombay. And that's when it gets real, because like back in college, you're still sort of sheltered. Like if your biggest problem is that you have to take the local train. So, I mean, it's not easy. It's not great that the local train has to be such a shitty experience, but then you don't have like that many problems. You know, you're still living in your like sheltered house with your parents and stuff like that. But it's really when you have to start paying rent in the city, and then you're suddenly like, oh shit, I spent too much. And you realize, okay, just how expensive it is. And just like, oh, if there's no like, I have to go into work every day, so I feel like I can't take local train in the morning because I would be in a sweat and looking disgusting. So let's not take the local train. I will instead take a cab every day, which is also really expensive. And it's going to take me like 1.5 hours to commute into work. And there's going to be these ridiculous things happen on the road. And sometimes that 1.5 hours will turn into 2 hours, and then I'll be late for a meeting. And then it just all gets all very real. And I think if all of that starts to happen and you also don't like your work,
Yeah.
which is a big reason why people are in Bombay is for work, right? That's a big reason why people come to Bombay or stay here, continue to stay here. And now this is sort of the third time, like my second return to Bombay, but like the third time I'm sort of living here full time. I have actually come to the conclusion that it is a city ultimately for work. And if you don't like your work, all the other shit that the city throws at you it just adds to it.
Yeah.
But if you kind of like what you do, then the energy of the city carries you. It's a very weird sort of realization I had only this time around, where I was just, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Like, this is a very weird experience. Not that the city can't tire you out, or that there aren't horrible experiences that you won't have. You will, but it'll still carry you somehow. You know, there's a sense of purpose you have, like, and it could be anything. Like, it could be just the nature of your work. It could just, for many people, it's just, this is the city that will, like, I mean, I will earn a certain amount of money in the city that I can't in any other place in India. And that is the single purpose that carries me. The energy of the city then, like, it does carry you. So
that's super interesting, because I have a friend who spent a lot of time in Bombay. She lives in Delhi, but she's like, you know, if I could move to Bombay, if I got a job there, I'd move in a heartbeat. And she said an interesting thing. She said that she believes that, like, you don't choose Bombay, Bombay chooses you.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know, for what you're describing, right, fall into or be in circumstances that you are enjoying your work, and then you feel the city kind of fall into step around that. I think that's what she was describing, which is that you have to figure out how to make the city kind to you.
Yeah.
Right. And that pathway is usually through a job.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this is something that I did want to spend some time on, because in our episode in Delhi, we spoke quite a bit about work and working. And as you said, that this whole idea of, quote unquote, the spirit of Bombay, like, so much of it has to do with a philosophy towards work.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to understand from you what you think that approach is towards work, towards aspirations, towards dreams, because it's the city of dreams, right? Like, what does all of that work for what does all of that mean to you? And specifically, what does it mean for women who are living independently and working there?
Yeah, it's a big one. Yeah, I mean, you know, in some ways it's still kind of hard to put into words, like, but yeah, there is like there's a professionalism that drives the city, and that is a very inherent part to the city, like part of the city. Like, in many ways, like, what we call the spirit of Mumbai it's essentially an acknowledgement of the fact that we're all here. Like, it's an acknowledgement of the fact that, firstly, like, everything that you're doing, there's like a struggle to it. You're struggling, I'm struggling, no matter where you come from. You know, there is a struggle, there's an inherent struggle, there's a hustle, and that takes precedence. So I understand, like, I get you. And the other aspect of that is that, like, there's a very deep understanding to the fact that, like, we're all here for work. Like, we're all here to sort of make something of ourselves. And the way that I think that manifests itself is that the things that come in your way, like the infrastructure is a big one that comes in your way. But the thing that doesn't come in your way are the people. Mm-hmm. And that is, in my opinion, like, in having just moved from Delhi, in direct contrast to Delhi. Like, in Delhi, trying to get any kind of work done, the infrastructure doesn't come in your way, it's the people. But in Bombay, I think that understanding and that sort of like empathy almost of like, yeah, you've come here to make it, I've come here to make it, I'm not going to stand in your way. That understanding between people, like, it's almost like an unsaid thing, is amazing. Like, I really feel like that's how it manifests itself. And more so, like, for women, like, I think, I mean, it's always been sort of like a working city. It's also kind of like, I mean, there's so many things to unpack as to why the city is safe for women. I mean, firstly, it's not in North India, so that's a big one. So there's like a cultural element to it. Like, that plays into it for sure. But it's always been like a professional city, and they also apparently, if cities have thriving nightlives, they're just safer. I don't know.
More people out on the streets. Yeah.
More people out on the streets. I think women have been sort of taking local trains, working in Bombay, because it's always been an expensive city, and it's always because it's a city that people come to work. Then it's like, if I'm coming and my wife is here, it doesn't make sense for her to be a housewife. She should work, and she probably in many cases has to work out of necessity, just so that we can achieve the goals that we want to achieve. So work is very inherent. Like, if you don't work in Bombay, it's actually kind of absurd. Like, I feel like and this is across like socioeconomic classes, like people work here.
Yeah.
Like it's a big part of how you spend your day and your time and your life, and it's different in other cities where I think people have like other kind of, I don't know, like ambitions. Like in Delhi, it's you have women who have like sort of this whole kitty party culture and all of those things.
Shots fired.
Yes, no, I'm just saying, like, it does exist.
Yes.
Not that there aren't kitty parties and housewives in Bombay, but or in like Goa, there's like an easier life, and there's other cities where like there is this like sort of dream of kind of being like moving beyond work and pursuing other ambitions, or like having to like, I think that is never a thing in Bombay. Like people live to work. And I feel like there's a cost to that also, which is that like actual living outside of work is hard to do. But I also think a big reason why the city is also safe is because of just its like geography and how it's designed. Like I've thought about this very often. It's like very densely packed, and it's like, what could even happen? Dude, like it's like 1:30 in the night, and there's like traffic on the streets. Like people can't get away with things. I mean, one is they're too busy trying to maneuver the roads, or like just actually get from point A to point B, that they don't have the time to even really think about doing anything. But I also think that it's just so, you're just so densely packed with other people all the time, and their physicalities are just evident to you, and it's just, I don't know, it's very it actually works for the city and works for women, and I think like makes women feel more comfortable to just be themselves, even though men are just in there like around all the time. But
I just wanted to pick up on something you were saying, which is about this idea of a struggle, and that kind of almost being like this unifying force for anyone who's living and working there, and kind of being like a driver for the way in which the choices that people make, right? And that specific choice being to work. I feel like that's another point of like such deep contrast with Delhi, because even in the workforce, I don't know if this is your experience, but you will meet people who have probably never struggled, right? Because they have parents in powerful positions, and like powerful as in the bureaucracy, in the government, right? Like the most prominent business families that you can think of, and they are getting access into very powerful rooms by virtue of this. And I guess like now I just want to talk a bit about like the industries in Bombay, because work and everything that's like contributing to industry, commerce, that way of life, economy, that's such a driver for life in Bombay. Specifically about like film and media, and I guess finance as well, because that's what people go to Bombay for. Have you noticed something like this? What I just described? What you'll see in like law, journalism, the development sector, public policy, this level of access that people have simply because of who they are, what their background is, so they can like bypass a struggle that someone else might have.
I mean, in the film industry, Nepo babies, for sure.
Yeah, but
100%.
But that's like, I guess that's true. but I feel like we're still talking about like, a small like group of people. Over here,
Yeah.
I'm talking about at every level of like the civil services. You can be
Yeah.
anyone. You don't need to be like the chief secretary or like a cabinet minister. You can be
Yeah.
anyone in the bureaucracy, and your kids are going to have like an easier time of it.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think power dynamics don't exist in the same way here that they do in Delhi. Like, firstly, like Delhi, I mean, it's this capital city, so there is like a whole other sort of aspect to that as well. Like, just the way in which like ministers move through the city, they close roads, and then there's like
Yeah.
there's all of that, and I think that kind of like flashiness which exists, whether it's like whether you're a politician or you're like a businessman or that doesn't exist in Bombay at all, and it's inherently a very meritocratic city, right? Like, and the thing is, most people here are self-made. Like, most people are self-made. Even like even the very, very rich people. Shah Rukh Khan, dude, is fucking self-made.
He had to leave Delhi to
He
make
had to
himself.
leave Delhi to become something and move to Bombay. There is, of course, I mean, in every industry, there's some aspect of like who you know helps you get ahead, like that whole network, you know, your network
Yeah.
helps you. But I think in Bombay, it's not a closed door.
Yeah.
Outside of the Karan Johar, like whatever, they're like an outlier, but it's not a closed door. I think a huge reason why people move to Bombay is because the access actually you get to all kinds of people. Like, you're able to get access to all those kinds of people is because they're open to inviting you in.
Yeah.
In Delhi, it's like if you're a part of an elite circle and you have your own network, you will not be open to inviting a new person in. You know, like there will be no sort of merit-based movement at all, and nobody sort of recognizing that, hey, this person probably has like some talent, and let's help them, let's bring them in, let's make them a part of the crowd. It's more of like people just trying to hold on to their power. And I do feel like, of course, you know, you can't make sweeping generalizations here. Like, of course, there are politicians here too. There is, you know, like lots of things that exist, but I feel like the way in which power sort of manifests in Bombay, it's very tricky. Like, honestly, I personally still don't have a handle on it, but I don't think that it's restricted. Like, it's not like people are not like, this is just for us, like the select few, and nobody else is invited in. So
it's almost as if like, I think what I'm getting from what you're saying is that like ambition finds a home in Bombay.
Yeah.
But like in Delhi, there's like a certain level of like entitlement, privilege, and power that finds a home.
And the point about trust comes back here.
Yeah.
Wherein I think people in Delhi are a lot more distrusting of like anything that's new or anyone who's new.
Yeah. Or anything outside their like predefined like demographic parameters.
Or ways of being.
Yeah.
But I think in Bombay, it's just, you know, like this kind of like, this culture of trust is something that, again, you come here and then you just become a part of it. Like, I do think that cities have their own, it's like what they say about organizations, right? That culture is kind of top down, that it sort of like exists as this layer above. And then when you get embedded into the organization, you sort of imbibe it in some or the other way.
Yeah.
And I feel like the same is true of cities. Like, because people are mostly trusting here, that's why meritocracy is a thing. That's why people flock here in like thousands, hundreds of thousands every year, just to sort of like make it, because you know that if you just are able to reach the right people and you're able to like showcase what you can do, that they will see it and it'll help you achieve what it is that you want to.
Yeah.
So,
and it's kind of going back to that whole idea of like, why does your background matter so much in Delhi versus not in Bombay, right? Like in Bombay, like the deciding factor is, do you want to do the struggle? Do you want to achieve that ambition of yours? And for that, you have to be someone who's willing to work. Yeah. And therefore, you're surrounded by people who have moved for the same reason, and you're in a generally more like liberal, progressive-minded space. Yeah. Whereas in Delhi, I do think that the desire for a lot of people, a lot of women, is to be as comfortable and, you know, advantageously positioned as possible. If I can put it kindly. So
Yeah.
and for that, your background is like a huge thing. It matters.
I think in Delhi, where you rank in the social order is extremely important
Oh
to
yeah,
people.
100%.
And that is true across strata. Like even lower socioeconomic classes, there will be like, मैं ये caste का हूँ, but वो उस caste का है, तो ये काम मैं करूँगा. And like, I mean, I think that is so visceral and embedded. But Bombay, I think the biggest thing about Bombay is that it is humbling. Like you come here and you could be of like I come from a lot of privilege. Like we have to, like that's the whole other layer that we have to acknowledge. Like all of this is coloring our experiences in both of these cities. Like we come from a fair amount of privilege, but despite that, the fact that you can be humbled very, very so quickly in this city also plays into that. Like I think that people like in Delhi, it's hard to be humbled. I feel like if anything, like you kind of
I'm humbled every day.
I mean, you know what I mean, right? Like
my lungs are humbled.
Yeah.
My soul is humbled.
Your soul is humbled.
My temperament, my anger, my personality is humbled. My personal life is humbled. But yeah, I'm not from here. I think this is many ways of me expressing that this is not my home. So but yeah.
There is actually an interesting poem that I had come across, which I want to read out, which speaks to this daily struggle phenomenon in a really interesting way. And I'd be happy. I'm going to read it out, but I'd love to know what you think about it. But it's like I came across it and it's this random book of poems, I think that Penguin had collated. And the poem is titled Andheri Local. Very common local line, Andheri, on the Western Line. Written by this woman called Arundhati Subramaniam in 1967. Okay, so I'm going to read the poem. In the women's compartment of a Bombay local, we search for no personal epiphanies. Like metal licked by relentless acetylene, we are welded. Dreams, disasters, germs, destinies, flesh and organza, odors and ovaries. 1,000-limbed, multi-tongued Kali on wheels. When I descend, I could choose to dice carrots or a lover. I postpone the latter.
That's nice. I love the range of our conversation, you know, like from like in my city and it's home to Mumbai to like, you know, this beautiful poem that you've just read out.
Yeah. Both in my city, poetry in its own ways. So,
I mean,
you know,
it's a city of many, many lives, many dimensions. So to end this conversation, to wrap it up, I have another question for you, which I want you to sort of introspect on. So all those years ago, when you moved back to India and your parents said that I want my kids to be rooted in life in Indian cities, and both your parents are from the north, your dad grew up in Delhi. What do you think your life would have been like had you moved to Delhi instead of Bombay?
Ooh.
Who do you think you would have been had you moved to Delhi and not Bombay?
Very good question. Very good question. I do feel like I would have. I mean, I don't want to diss on my Delhi friends like that, because I mean I've met some really lovely people also. But I feel like I would have worried at that impressionable age. I think I would have worried a lot about things like who my parents are, or like where I come from, and like what my clothes are like. Maybe I would have worried about those things, and like do I own those kind of things. Where I feel like coming to Bombay, it sort of, if anything, obviously like it pricked the bubble that I was living in when I was in Singapore. But more than anything, it sort of exposed me to like a kind of like chaos and diversity that I don't know that I would have been able to witness or experience in Delhi. And it's just in your like lived reality, right? Like in how you sort of experience the city in a day-to-day basis. I think that people from certain socioeconomic classes and strata are sometimes invisible in Delhi in the way that you even commute in the city. Yes, you have a metro, of course. But I also think that in Bombay, and I'm not saying that, you know, the way in which slums are organized in Bombay it's a good thing or anything like that, but you witness it. It's a part of it. Like you witness
there's no hiding it.
there's no hiding it. There's no question of hiding it. And the slum lobby here is so strong, you know, like I remember in my second year of college only that they were trying to get rid of like a small jhopadi, which was sort of blocking a road near Powai. And it took them months to do that. And of course, a lot of people were inconvenienced because you couldn't like take your car. But I also felt like there was something so wonderful about the fact that there was an entire lobby willing to kind of like protect, no matter how politicized it is, but willing to protect like a single family living in a jhopadi, right? Like that is it's interesting. And also in Bombay, like, I mean, I don't know if you've seen Kiran Rao's Dhobi Ghat, but I think it's a very beautiful exploration of just how different classes intersect and rely on each other. And that is like a very like active reality of living in the city, is that, you know, nothing is invisible, people are not invisible, and like how they interconnect with you and your life is also not invisible. It's very, very apparent, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a big part of like what I love about the city is that when I said it humbles you, I think that's good. Like, I mean, a lot of it, we haven't actually discussed like what are the negative aspects of the city. There's so many, and you know, because of time, we don't have to necessarily get into too much of it and stuff. But I do feel like that despite all of that, the fact that it's been able to humble me, I think has served me well in the long scheme of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say it's made you the person you are today?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. Especially those first 3 years. I think about that all the time because, I mean, they're such important, malleable years, you know, like where you are shaped by the place that you're in. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
Yeah.
So
I remember those years. Yeah.
But yeah.
I guess
Bombay,
it's your city.
Bombay is my city, I guess. Yeah. Bombay is Bombay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Amazing. Excited to possibly do a living in Pune episode at some point in the future. I'd love to know more about the city. As of right now, I only know interesting, funny stories about Pune, but maybe we'll follow it up with another,
we just have to stay tuned for the next living in episode.
For the next living in.
But yeah, that's our episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening. Thinking People podcast is hosted by Sanaya Chandar and Ketki Sharma. Our producer for this episode is Saurav Das.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your audio content. Be sure to follow us at Thinking People Pod on Twitter or X and at Thinking People Pod on Instagram. If you'd like to get in touch, write to us at thinkingpeoplepodcast@gmail.com.
Stay tuned for our next episode.